Hello IGN, my name is Jose Otero and I am here at the Nintendo booth to get a quick look at Splatoon. Joining me today, Mr. Nagami from Nintendo, Mr. Sakaguchi, and also Rob as well providing translation. So guys, let's talk about this game. So really quickly, my first question, why don't you explain just briefly what Splatoon is?
So Splatoon is a 4-on-4 team game where you compete by spraying ink around on the territory and try to cover as much territory, control as much territory as you can.
I noticed, Mr. Sakaguchi, you playing earlier, the strategies to win aren't just as simple as sort of spreading ink and like steering clear. Like actually using the ink on the floor is kind of really important. Can you talk about that?
So for example, you might be able to see on the map that you're going to have people, some of your friends coming up behind you. So, you might look at that and think, all right, I'll create a path for them to follow by spraying the ink, or maybe I'll create, kind of set up a barrier so that enemies can't come in. And one important thing to remember is that you can swim very fast in your own ink, but if you step in an opponent's ink, you'll get your feet will get stuck, so you'll be slowed down. And since when you transform into a squid, you can hide in your own ink, you're able to lay in wait and maybe ambush opposing players as well.
So I noticed too, using ink for traversal was very important, just because it helps you recharge. Is that, just talk a little bit about that, sort of the strategy behind how to play really well.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely wanted to make this a game that you would play by switching a lot between being a person and being a squid. So from the start we had the idea that, well, if you're a person you'll be able to shoot ink, but then we had to think a lot about what sort of abilities should you have once you become a squid? And then we realized, that if we made it so that the squids were able to swim really fast through the ink, or if you sprayed it up a wall, you'd be able to you could kind of just go wherever you want as long as there's ink there. That made it so we had this system where you could switch between being a person and being a squid and do all sorts of different things. Now, actually, at that point, they weren't squids yet. Just right at the end, once we had all these abilities, we realized, oh, they should just be squids.
Can you talk a little bit about how special abilities work? Specifically, like special weapons. I noticed someone pulled out a cannon. Yeah.
So I think you've probably seen the gauge up in the right corner, but as you spray more ink around to cover more territory and also cover over opponent's ink, that'll slowly fill up. And then once that fills up, you're able to use a special weapon. So at E3 right now on the show floor, you're only able to see the kind of tornado-like gun, but if you saw the video, you saw that there were hints at other special weapons that'll be coming too. We definitely plan to make lots of different abilities. And the way we kind of thought about it was that if someone stays back at the base and does a lot of painting, builds up a lot of territory, then they get this special weapon and then they can go to the front and help out their teammates using that.
Quickly, I wanted to ask about are there any other sort of objective modes they can share or have in mind, right? Right now it's sort of a timed match for spraying down paint. Is there anything else, in the future that's also involved, other modes and ideas?
Yeah, there are definitely some other modes we're thinking about. I mean, right now at the show floor we just have the 4-on-4 kind of team match, but we're also thinking of, making a single player mode and then also a local 1-on-1 mode as well. Yeah, and this is going to be a full package software, and we're planning on having it out in the first half of 2015. And we definitely want to make it something that people can play even if they're not able to connect to the internet.
Can you talk a little bit about then how you're using the gamepad for this game?
So you do use the gyro sensors on the gamepad for aiming, but we've made it so that it feels very, very natural. So really the way it ends up working is that you have the right stick that you use to kind of move the camera for your larger movements, and then the gyro sensors are used for more your precision aiming. It's very much something you can do just with your wrists. And we do plan to have an option where you would be able to turn off gyros and just use the right stick, but we don't think you'll be able to win if you do that. If you actually get to play it, I think you'll see what it's like. It just feels very natural.
Do you have any plans for split screen sort of couch play? Like folks in the same house sort of playing, maybe not connected online?
We do. We're going to have local one-on-one play. We're not sure if it's going to necessarily be split screen or not, but yeah.
Can someone who is not using the gamepad also play then? Like a Pro Controller or one of the other options?
Yeah, so the other person in that situation would be using like a Wii U Pro Controller.
So one of the important things for a game like this, a third-person action game like this, is communication between team players. Will players be able to sort of talk and kind of chat to plan strategy online? Like, will this support voice? Will this have voice support essentially?
So with this game, because you always have the constantly updated map displayed on the gamepad, you're always able to see in real time, what your enemies are doing and what your teammates are doing. We want it to be something where you'll be looking at that information and always thinking about on your own, what should I do? Where should I go? And then in ways that don't maybe interfere with what we've already established, we do plan on introducing some sort of communication features as well.
Can you explain a little bit about how you can quickly travel across the map? I'm not sure if we got that when we were talking about the gamepad earlier. There was some sort of unique touch feature.
Yeah, and I think this is also very closely related to the fact that you're able to see on the map, where the ink is, this super jump ability. So when you look at that map and it's got, the enemy's color ink and your color ink, and then you've got the 3 icons of your teammates, it's kind of like a little quiz, like looking at the status of the gameplay. Where do you want to go? Which ones should you touch? Yeah. Do you want to use that ability to jump to maybe like an area that's covered in enemy ink? Do you want to go someplace that's covered in your color ink that's safer? Or do you want to just go on your own power right from where you are? And things are changing in this game so fast, but with that control, since it's just a touch, you can very quickly make a very decisive movement. And I think that's something that's very fun about playing this game. And that's really a feature that it combines this ability of like being able to see where the ink is, but then also being able to have like just an analog input, just a touch input to make that very big movement very, very quickly.
So I guess my last question is, how did you arrive on the concept of ink? Like ink being the sort of main mechanic, like paint your territory, and that being the means to win.
So this game actually started from a prototype that one programmer made on his own, but from the just the initial stages of the prototype, the idea of it being like spraying ink around trying to control territory was present there. So it was right from the start, really. And at the time, it wasn't this kind of more complex shooting game you're seeing there. It was much more of a simple, just kind of territorial control thing. But as we've continually added features over and over as we've been developing the game, we think it's become something really, really great. This kind of whole action of just spraying the ink around, it's something that feels very much like, kind of like a little bit like vandalism. So it's kind of fun in that way. And I know we talked a lot about kind of complex strategy type stuff before, but also just spraying the ink around and like the sounds it makes and stuff just feels really great.
Almost like a really fun game of paintball, essentially.
Yeah, and I think this is something that it's kind of an action that very much appeals to teenagers, but I think it'll also appeal to people who kind of want to revisit that kind of feeling of being a teenager and kind of like doing bad things, sort of.
All right. My last question then is regarding player customization. Will players either be able to customize themselves or maybe even rules to the game types, assuming there are more than one?
We're definitely going to have lots of customization for the weapons. I mean, you probably saw in the video the kind of close quarters combat roller, and then also kind of a charge shot, a kind of a sniper kind of weapon. And you can probably see in what we have here, but they're all wearing kind of different clothes, like different hats, different clothes on their body, and different shoes, and that'll all be customizable as well.
Regarding game types, will that also have customization features?
Yeah. So right now we kind of have it as just a fairly simple, just kind of straight up territorial control game. But for more advanced gamers, we're definitely kind of thinking of like different, more advanced options we might be able to introduce.
All right, excellent. All right, well there you have it, folks. This is Splatoon by Nintendo. Very fun 4-on-4 action game. And for more coverage, make sure you keep it right here at IGN.